Hello, and let me echo Cheryl's welcome to this, the 40th annual Everett Parker Lecture and Awards Ceremony.
On behalf of communities of people long left out of policy conversations, TL has led colleagues at Hurd in diligently collecting the receipts of injustice, pressing for reform, and succeeding against the tallest of odds.
I think James Baldwin said, my work will either speak for itself or it won't. The gains that have been had, that we have forced, have been had, but they've arisen only out of heartbreaking loss and immense sacrifice. John Wilson was wrongfully convicted and spent 25 years incarcerated. I worked for about 12, 13 years to free him from the cages that he should have never been in the first place. He passed away 6 months later because of deprivation of access to telecommunications, which again, we are calling on the FCC to no cost for calls from disabled people to their loved ones, and full access for everyone.
I'm just so deeply honored by this. 15 years ago, I was sitting in the back of the room at a table. Cheryl had invited me because we were doing some legal work for the church. UCC was actually my first client when I got to Georgetown Law. And my organization, Free Press, which was founded long after UCC in 2003, really exists on the premise that the people should shape our media system so that it serves us, the people, over corporate interests. And that work really wouldn't have been possible without the trailblazing work of UCC and Reverend Parker. Why do we do this work? It's because we understand that the media is powerful. It shapes beliefs, opinions. It actually impacts how people act and move about in the world. It can be harnessed for good and for evil.
In this context of what we're here to talk about today, we forget sometimes how technology has always been used against those organizing against oppression. And during the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s, particularly in places like Mississippi, what organizers had to do was avoid the telephone. And I'm going to say it again, we are the majority. We in this room are the majority. Our philosophy, our values, our ideals are the majority. But the few small evil tongues that wag can wag with much more power, thanks to technology. But when we talk about connectivity, we also have to talk about whether we get to use the tools, whether communities of color, whether the oppressed, whether the people who are being told what they cannot do are being victimized by the technology, whether we get to use it as a tool. But we can change and build a different kind of power when we recognize the power of our community innovators, the possibility of people, and the necessity of the public resources that have to funnel into it. Our partnerships can be powerful. The possibility of our people is unquestionable. And the passion for what is possible must be the fire that we blow in order to counter the blaze of those tongues that wag with hate and that work to undermine we, the majority.
So we have received all the gifts we need for the day: to do justice, to imagine boldly, to dare courageously, that another world is indeed possible.